accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard, coping and seething.
Hey, I forgot I changed the time too, as well as I'm also responding to other people on X as well, so that's fun. How are y'all doing tonight? I certainly kicked a hornet's nest, didn't I? But what I am going to do is I am going to quickly respond to this last person, so you're going to get some computer ASMR, and then I'm going to start opening up the lines, and we're going to talk, and we're going to look at all of this. But while I do that, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask. Mods, can we ban all the commies from chat? It's PTSD in the mouse. Actually, no, I'm gonna respond to it here. So what's that called? Sorry, man. It's easier. Here's a link. Need to come on. And really should just give myself more time, but then again, I'm already still scrambling right here to do everything here, so probably I would have had that same issue regardless. But that's neither here nor there. What can you do? What can you do? Oh, that does remind me. I should probably also add a thing for everyone to come on in terms of the invites here. So I'll do the invite to the Discord. So everyone who's in the Discord who wants to come on, you are welcome to do so. It's midnight EST. So Sea Monster's going to be late. Send me a link when it's time. Joey should know it's in the Discord. There we go. As well as I just probably put in the thread. Although I'm not sure if the compiler is going to work, because someone apparently compiled all the tweets. So that's fun. And first one to come in is Minecraft World. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing okay.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah, a little better than I was last time. So, thank God.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah. Are you familiar with everything that's happened, or not at all?
Yeah, I'm familiar with stuff that's been going on.
Jump on. There we go. Okay. And while it's doing here, but Doesn't suck that one of your favorite movies can cause so much controversy. That's to be expected when everyone wants to talk about something.
Yeah, I can understand that feeling, especially as someone who is an adamant defender of King of the Monsters.
Which I think more people want to do debates on that, so that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, Rooney said he wants to do a sequel.
Uh-huh.
So,
Anti-art, the holiest construction style is a work of art, also portraying civilians that survived war and are struggling to rebuild their devastated lives is not fascism. Exactly. Yeah. I guess we could just go into it now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about a preamble, but I think that can wait.
Yeah. I was gonna do like a big fun preamble, but I think it's gonna be a lot easier to just do it like this. So where's it? This guy right here, I want to give him a shout out because he did the compiler thread here, which just compiled all the tweets as well as the video here. I'm not sure. I'm gonna refresh this. I want to see if it's gonna show the invite. No, it doesn't. So it only compiles up to what was there. Okay. As well as it doesn't show anything that came like off of those threads because I know there were certain posts that more people added to. So I like that. I like that he did that. But it looks like it's not going to add more if I add more. So
we'll just
thank you, good sir. From here. Thank you, good sir,
for doing that.
But oh god, we got more people. We got the Sea Monster and we got Zavik, who just did a live stream as well. Vic did an AMA about his time working in the Godzilla room. So shout out to him for that.
Wait, really? Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be here till midnight. So yeah.
I don't know how many people are actually gonna come in. What I will say is that probably, give or take, it may be the case that I may have to like drop people in and out if I actually get a lot of people, which I don't think I will, but like if I do, I mean some people might be dropped, so we may just have spaces just fill up and fill out on their own as they come. But yeah, this is gonna be fun. So I'm just gonna do it like this. But I said, so in the light of the anti-art discourse, I'm highlighting some fun comments I saw, filtering out ones that said things like "I'll take" or one-line insults, or things like like that's why -1 is bad, things of that nature for the most part. And yeah, and I said a lot of odd things to be noticing. So we're gonna go through all of these, and then we can give our thoughts.
Okay. Before we do, I just want to ask one thing because I was talking about this on Kaiju Canucks Discord as well. Someone brought up the question: what is the context for Takashi Yamazaki's quote? Where did he originally say this?
That's a good question.
Because that may be because someone brought up the potential of they may be of the quote itself may be out of context, and that's possibly something that's led to all of this.
Well, the thing is that like I'm gonna read the quote because I actually have it written here. Because I'm not gonna I'm
wondering where. I'm also just curious myself as to where he said this.
I know 14's usually pretty good about. It's the source is right here. So let's pull up the source too. Translate to English. Pursue the real, be afraid of Godzilla. Film director Takashi Yamazaki. So we can read the article too.
Oh yeah.
So thank goodness for translations. And we got Joey Go to the Makai Phantom in as well. How's it going?
Welcome aboard.
Hey.
I only get to hear your voice.
Oh, you did? You never heard what I sounded like?
No.
Oh, I've been on Zim's podcast multiple times. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Plus, I make the best analysis videos, so shame on you for not watching them.
Well, second best behind me, but we won't get into that. Well, you say I'm worthless, yet you're on my stream, boy.
Your streams suck ass. You need me to make them entertaining.
Bro, man, why don't you come up to my sub level and then maybe you can talk?
You ain't got nothing to worth talking about.
Bro, my views say otherwise, but let's get into this. It was it was very interesting to get a glimpse of your filmmaking. A long time ago, I saw a documentary about a famous American filmmaker named Tim Burton who was so engrossed in the scene that he walked backwards in his scope, even endangered scenes, and all the staff were desperately defending it. That's what I'd like to do. I think I'm happiest when I'm in a place where I'm immersed in the work rather than giving orders, where the staff presents me with a wonderful job that exceeds my expectations. That's why I ask people who can help you to do the work, to people who have a level of ability that I can look up to, valuing the experience at the movie theater that cannot be obtained by distribution. Since you won the visual effects for Godzilla Minus One, I think the environment has changed in many ways. How have you had any changes in your state of mind? I try not to change myself. I try not to change myself. I don't want to be the kind of person who changes because of that. However, the number of job offers from overseas has increased tremendously. Since I belong to an agent in the United States, I've been told about a big job that will surprise me. I'm scared, but I also want to take on the challenge. If you go to the US and it doesn't suit your skin, you can just roll your tail and come back. On the other hand, I think I can make a film that is premised on being released to the world without going to the US. So I'm trying to find a way to do it. And I guess, yeah, so these are all the questions that the person's asking. And then this is Yamazaki's response. Will you continue to make films on the entertainment around the future? Well, I don't want to make the people. Oh, so here's the quote right here. Well, I don't want to make the people who give me money unhappy. So I think that the attitude of making an entertainment film that makes a lot of people happy is something that I should never miss. I don't feel like making a film that says, this is my art. Our basic stance is to make a film that many people, such as grandparents in rural areas, can fully enjoy. So it's a little different from how the quote is phrased here.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think Kaiju number 14, while wasn't exactly misconstruing it, I will say I don't think he helped with it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if maybe because I think 14 does translations himself, and then I'm using like essentially Microsoft's translate. So I'm not sure if it's like which translation would be more reliable, I guess.
Can I get my thoughts on this whole thing on how it's misconstrued?
Yeah.
Okay, so regardless which translation is right, many people, and particularly a bunch of inferior life forms, dipshits, who somehow misconstrued what he was saying, they misunderstand what he was saying. What Yamazaki was saying wasn't that, oh, my work isn't art, or oh, this isn't my vision. No, all this stuff is Yamazaki's vision. Like, for example, Godzilla Minus One was Yamazaki's vision. Like, Yamazaki for years had his idea of what he wanted a Godzilla movie to be. That's why for a while, when Toho, I think, asked him for a while on if he can do a Godzilla movie, he kept saying, no, I don't think CGI was ready. And then Shin Godzilla came out. He was like, okay, my vision is ready. Now, of course, he did change his vision a bit from Shin Godzilla because his original vision was to do what Shin was, and that was a reimagining of Gojira in modern day. But since Anno already did that, Yamazaki changed his vision to be, okay, I'll just make a loose remake of Gojira, mainly around the same time, and so on and so on. And as a whole, yes, Minus One was Yamazaki's vision. Like, he's had it for years. That's what he's been holding on to. But what he's saying here is, while he does bring his visions to life, because again, Godzilla Minus One is still a retelling of Gojira, is he still keeps the audience in mind because those people give him money. He's not like an art house director that's being like, oh, this is just for me. He's like, no, this is what I want to make, but I also want the people who pay to see my work also happy. Like, how does people not understand that? That's a pretty simple point.
There's also the factoid of him being under the helm, at least when working on Minus One, under the helm of a film studio. He's going to need to make sure they somehow, in some way, shape, or form, profit from this film. And as such, he wants to try to do that his own way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, it's still his vision, because Minus One at its core, while different than it was originally, it's still a retelling of the original Godzilla movie. It's just not a modern-day reimagining because Shin already did that, so it just went the loose remake route that basically expands on the themes of the original and things like that.
Yeah.
So what I'm understanding... Oh, sorry.
No, you finish.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is that when he said, like, he made the movie to entertain people, like, people think, like, art and entertainment is, like, are pretty much, like, not aren't synonymous or aren't. They're pretty much like how do I put it? What's a good way? What's like a good phrase to put it when like what what's a good way? What's a good phrase to put it? God, I know the phrase, but I can't. It's like when you have like two things, when the two things that are like okay, yeah, mutually exclusive. Like are people just thinking that like are people just like assuming that art and entertainment are mutually exclusive in this particular instance? Like, that's
I think some
Entertainment
people
is
are
art.
saying that. Yeah.
That's
Entertainment
one
is
of the
art.
interpretations I'm getting.
Like here's the thing,
It
like, me and Zim know this guy. Like I'll just call him Costello. You know who I'm talking about, right, Zim?
Yeah.
A point he made that was correct, and I will agree on, even though it sounds psychotic on the surface, is anything creative is art. And here's where it sounds psychotic, but it's still technically true. He said murder technically is art if it's done creatively. And he's not wrong. It sounds psychotic because he is psychotic.
Oh yeah.
And there goes my stream, and I'm now on a watch list.
But you gotta admit, the cuck was right there.
See,
Even
do
though
you
he
have
cried
any
like
wood
a
to
bitch
knock
after
on?
saying it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hugs
Well,
that,
they're in
Kevin!
Like the thing is that like when fundamentally anything can be art, but that doesn't mean everything or anything can be good art as well. But
Yeah, exactly.
at least looking at this right here,
Good
what he
is
is
an
saying-
additional metric. Good is an
Yeah.
additional like requirement.
well,
For,
good. Maybe we shouldn't say good or quality, maybe, because like then we say good, we mean like it's art we enjoy. That's good technically, but let's look at this here. He says that, he says I don't want to make people who give me money unhappy, and essentially all he's saying is that like when he's creating a movie, when he says this is his art, it is literally just creating products that people enjoy. That is literally his basic stance, and he wants to make it as have a broad appeal as possible. I agree with his sentiments, and I think that like films should cater to a specific niche, but if they are of significant quality, oftentimes they will appeal to other people outside of that niche purely because of their quality. I think one example of this for myself is I've seen bits and pieces of Arcane because everyone's been gushing about it. I think overall it's pretty well constructed, but it's just not something that appeals to me, and I'm not like as engrossed in it as other people are. But that is something where I don't think everyone is going to be quote unquote happy when they see it. They're going to feel different kinds of emotions. But I think that when Yamazaki means happy, I think he just means quite literally just satisfied with the product. Like it has nothing to do with people should only feel happy thoughts or things of that nature when they're looking at his product.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
meal,
And
the
like I
meal
said,
that he
when it
cooked
came-
was satisfying.
Mhm.
And like I was saying is, like I said, he's not saying that it's not his vision, because like I said, what we know about Yamazaki and what he wanted to do with a Godzilla movie for years 100% contradicts that.
Mhm.
Hmm?
But we're gonna go through all of these, and then we're gonna go by a few of them one by one. So
All right.
first person here, anyone who thinks like this should die. We're gonna go back to this guy in a little bit because he's been actually responding to me. That's kind of why the stream was a little late. But he says, and you know he's saying this so that anything he might subconsciously put in his movies or any choices he makes about a certain imperialist regime in a certain time period can be swept under the blanket of, oh, that's just what the audience wants. Joseph, is that you?
Exactly.
It's kind of just what Joseph said in his video.
Also, just
Um,
side note, I'm treating Twitter a lot like CinemaSins.
Yeah.
And now I will say this, like Zim, you know I have a lot to say on this topic. I'll let you know. Tell me when it's time to just go in on it, because I've seen the Eternal Zero and it's a fucking masterpiece.
I think-
even if Naoki Hyakuda is a garbage human being, the guy who wrote the novel.
I think that what's it called? I think we're gonna get to the quote later. We're gonna go back to that one. So we can go talk about Eternal Zero. But this is why -1 could not even come close to Shin Godzilla. I think the only reason why this guy says, I know that this is gonna make Steve and Minecraft laugh, but I think the only reason why some people will say that Shin is better than -1 is because it appeals to their certain politics. But that's just me, and I think that is the only reason why I wanted to include this one is because of that.
I want to
Yeah,
say when
sure.
it comes to Shin,
Yeah,
Shin and
sure.
minus one
Of
are
course
technically
you're putting
saying something
politics. Yeah,
similar.
sure, buddy.
Both are
Oh,
criticizing.
so it is in the first set of tweets. Okay.
Okay,
And
one
yeah,
thing I want
this
to
is
say,
insane thing for a director who has adapted multiple Naoki Hayakura books to say.
Okay,
So
so for
there's
the
the
audience,
that's the
okay,
one
so for
that's
the
the one we're gonna
straw
want
man,
to
who the
find. So I'm
hell is
gonna
that?
go right. Yeah. While I pull up the next set, Joey, if you want to explain to them who that is for context.
so let me get my notes. Because if I slip over myself, it's because I'm reading notes as I wrote all this down like a fucking autist. And
Yeah,
I'm
we're all
autistic,
autistic here.
so don't be like, oh, you're an ableist. I'm autistic, so I can say what I want. Fuck
Hey,
you.
I'm autistic too, so you're fine.
Yeah.
I'm Asperger's all the way.
Hell yeah!
We're the
I have
Tism gang.
ADHD.
Tism crew.
Let's go.
Okay, so I got my big list of notes here, so let's get started. If you saw the Twitter, as you all did, you'll notice a few names brought up was Naoki Hyakuta and Eternal Zero. This is because Naoki Hyakuta, who's the founder of the Conservative Party in Japan, is not a great person. He's got some iffy political beliefs, such as recently being involved with a controversy for saying women shouldn't able to get married after the age of 25, which is foul, and a few other bad things I won't be bothered to get into, since they're not that relevant, besides a few folks thinking you can't appreciate art by bad people. So let's get into where it can tie into the work. Hyakuta is a hardcore nationalist. So much he's denied war crimes such as the Nanjing massacre. That's not good. I don't care that he's a conservative. I don't care if he's patriotic. That's perfectly fine. But knowing his beliefs, I can agree that he's a disgusting human being. Eternal Zero, however. This is a story at its core about being heroic to one's family and choosing to live for them instead of fighting in a war you don't really believe in. Hell, even Hyakuta stated he's against war despite what he believes about Japan. It humanizes the soldier because it acknowledges the nuance to take place in times like these. Obviously, there were evil, brainwashed bastards in Imperial Japan who very much believed what they were doing. Give me a sec, I gotta hook up my fucking laptop. Because it's getting...
No, you're good. But yeah, like I think like a lot of people, and this is me making an assumption about a lot of people, is the fact that they are unable to actually empathize with people unless they agree with that person 100% politically, and that anything that humanizes another side, they will immediately reject because they feel the righteousness of their own beliefs.
Yeah, exactly.
That is me making a broad assumption about a lot of these people, in my personal opinion. May
no,
not be
what you said is
true,
fact.
but like it's very clear in the film that like you really have to twist very, very hard to come to the conclusion that Godzilla -1 is subtly a way to wink and nod to the nationalists in Japan that, this is your get back, this is your win. We'll give the Imperial Japanese something to like be proud of, instead of just being like, let's explore these characters and this time in Japanese history that Yamazaki has a lot of experience and knowledge of, and think about something uplifting.
Yeah.
And I think that's really clear in this film.
And I was about to say, it humanizes the soldier because it acknowledges the nuance to take place in times like these. Obviously, there was evil bastards who believed what Japan was telling them to do. However, there was also folks who were just following orders or else they'd fucking die. Destiny made a good point about this. He said we all talk about how we'd be the Nazi to kill Hitler, but would you really be that Nazi? You'd have to confront others in that group, and if you want others on your side, you have to take risk of confronting one who will kill you right there. It wouldn't be worth it unless you want to die now, would it?
Also, real quick, I forgot to mention this to you about your notes. I'm probably gonna want to not use the N-word.
I don't use the N-word. That's not an... Oh, you mean... Oh,
That... that right.
It's like, what? I didn't write that in my fucking notes.
I didn't write
God damn it, Sam.
Okay. One thing I do want to add to that is the idea that because I haven't seen Eternal Zero, but I did look at several reviews and clips of it. There is that one scene in the film when they're talking about one mission that they're going to go on. And the main character, the siblings, their grandfather essentially points out that they're not going to have enough fuel to actually do this mission properly, and it's a suicide mission. And the man gets chewed out for essentially lowering morale. So it clearly shows that like someone who cared a lot about life and cared about the people that he was fighting beside, like that's what matters in the film, is this kind of drama that occurs there.
Yeah,
instead of like trying to talk about, oh, look at all of these guys here who are gonna like die for this noble cause, praise be to the God Emperor, yada yada, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll actually get to that in my notes because there's like I said, the film very much contradicts that. Now knowing what we do about Hyakuda now, I'd say now knowing what we do about Hyakuda now, I say you can make the argument that the novel is victimizing Japan by only showing them as well-intentioned. But even now, that's still not a definitive takeaway, given there's nothing there that explicitly states, oh, America is evil, we did nothing wrong, yada, yada, yada. So you can also argue that none of his more radical beliefs are featured in that book. But either way, even if that is what the novel is saying, Hyakuda didn't say that dumb shit about the Ninjing massacre till after Eternal Zero was made. So even if that solidified your interpretation of the book, that information wasn't available at that point. So the movie adaptation is clear. So the movie adaptation is clearly in no way doing that if you know anything about Yamazaki. Was any of you saying something?
Yeah.
No,
one thing I was going to bring up is that maybe the novel writer himself also could have potentially changed his opinion after writing the novel itself. Maybe he was under a completely different mindset when he was writing it, and then changed afterwards.
That is possible, because like I said, the book is about it's better to survive than being a dying quote-unquote hero. Be alive for your family. That's the core theme of both. And both
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
And hell, even fucking that's the thing. Like, yeah, that's the thing. Hell, even fucking Yoko Ono, and I'm sure you guys know who Yoko Ono is, a literal peace activist, praised the movie for its message and take on humanism. Is she a fascist too? One of the most well-known peacekeepers and anti-war people.
Yeah, speaking of which, let's go through a few more of these.
Give me
By
a minute to
Lego
go back on the
Kingo.
tangent when I can.
I feel bad for artists who say this kind of thing. He should be proud enough of the stuff you call to make it art. He's mostly just doing it here to cynically dodge criticisms for his fashy politics, but by doing it, he's denigrating the entire art form he works in. Clearly, he's not, because what he's saying is that making people happy is the art he wants to produce.
Yeah, exactly.
What everybody misses is that this is his attempt to dodge criticism for his nationalist views and apologetics. I'll just use apologetics instead. Views that he feels so much dissonance over. That's the entire point of Godzilla -1. No. The dissonance isn't the point of -1.
Can I go back on my tangent?
Give me 1 sec. We'll just go. Oh, he's just a fascist. Let me go into this tangent first, and then you can go back on yours.
Okay.
Actually, nothing statement you'd hear from artists all the time. Slightly telling, however, coming from a guy who literally adapted 2 novels from a far-right author who denies the Nanking Massacre. Or Nanjing Massacre, my bad. But this became a spiral in and of itself because this person was like, oh, he's just a fascist. And then a bunch of people really went hard and just went off on this person because of that. And I'm not condoning what they did or the things they said. However, if you're just going to call someone a fascist, not elaborate, and considering the fact that this person now 10 hours later from this original post is like, why are there 54 comments on this? They didn't care enough to actually elaborate. They just wanted to call the person a fascist, get a couple likes, get a couple reposts, simple as. Because there's several people here in the thread who very much are able to and are asking for an elaboration on this. And if they really cared about the harassment, they could easily block the people who are being terrible to them or just close up the thread.
I'm going to be honest, these people deserve bullying. Like,
So
I
what
100% condone bullying.
So what you're
for people
saying is that people are getting worked up over the fact that he was potentially joking.
No,
potentially.
Well, the thing is that I don't even think the person's joking, because if we're supposed to believe that fascism is this awful, terrible thing, and considering the fact that Person's got Palestine flag in their bio, and this is the only change I'm going to make about that. Israel has also been called fascist because of its war with Palestine. If people who support these kinds of movements are going to then flippantly say that this person is fascist, and without any proof, without any elaboration, be surprised that they get an amount of hate for that because it's clearly not true, then it's really just a fuck around, find out kind of scenario. And the reason why I don't care too much about the discourse they've gotten back is purely because they don't care. They haven't even really said too much else outside of like there was one comment that they made that I also highlighted where they're like, oh, people are mad at me because I had opinions about Godzilla. No, you didn't have opinions about Godzilla. You just called someone fascist and moved on.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I was just bringing.
And this person right here also is like, this person got hate.
Argument.
Make the argument.
Like the whole. So what I'm getting at here, just as a hypothetical, if someone were to read this as maybe they're joking.
That the problem with that is that like people like this don't usually joke about things like this. They don't usually joke about people being fascist because
you have no idea what. Then you have not spent enough time around my brothers.
Oh no, what's it called? I will say this: a lot of people will joke about that and make jokes about that. However, a lot of people who are explicitly involved in activism and things of that nature don't usually joke about things like that because they want you to actually care about these terms and actually oppose people who are fascist. And at a certain point, if you're just joking about it, but you're really involved in political activism, it's essentially irony poisoning to me at that point, because I'm never gonna understand whether or not you're joking or not, or how seriously I should take your claims.
Yeah, like the serious claim. Yeah, you don't know where the serious claim ends, where the joke begins.
Because the problem here is that it's like people are getting mad at these tweets. Should really look at who they're rallying with in the replies. I don't think most of you are even asking why she said this. Perhaps she would feel more motivated to elaborate if she thought it was worth elaborating to an audience of people saying generally transphobic and hateful things towards her. The problem with that is that clearly they don't care. They haven't posted anything about Godzilla since then. They made one post saying people got mad at them over it, so it's not something they care to elaborate. They're fine. They're not crying about the fact that they got hate. So trying to hold water for someone who's just being awful is stupid in my opinion. And the thing is that I went an entire thread with this person and they not once said or even admitted that, maybe they shouldn't have called the director a fascist, or even downplayed the fact that no, he's clearly not. It's it's a ridiculous double standard in my eyes.
Yeah, here's the thing. You can't go around calling people horrible things and then be like, you guys had to bully me, or you bullied this person, you're all evil. No, you're being a foul human being. You're being disgusting. I have no sympathy for you. I think you're a garbage human being, and actually, I don't just think it. You're objectively, factually a garbage human being, and you deserve the very fucking worst.
Okay. Again, that's the problem, is that just admit that it wasn't the best thing to say. I'm sorry. But the thing is, it's the same thing is that if someone called me the N-word, that's it's not going to affect me. But if someone just said that about me and a bunch of y'all, I'm not saying you would do this, but if a bunch of y'all just really went after someone and tried to say the most horrid, vile things to this person because they said something vile about me, I would understand it. I'd probably tell you guys not to do it. But it's very clear that when you're dealing with randoms on the internet, if you're going to say something extremely inflammatory and extremely untrue about another person, when it's clearly not true, you're going to get a lot of people who are not going to care and just go for the throat and do the most heinous things ever because they want to make you feel as bad as they feel about that person getting that kind of hate, especially when we're told that what you're calling that person is the worst thing ever. Simply just don't do it. It's not hard. Or literally, it's not even like they didn't have enough space to explain further. They just said, oh, he's just a fascist, ... nothing else.
That's because they're too stupid to explain themselves. They don't have a well-informed opinion. They just see this, they get an emotional reaction, they're like, fascist! That's the thing.
Yeah, it's like when you, it's like they're okay with calling someone like Yamazaki or someone out there, or anyone out there a fascist when they think it's totally called for. But the moment, if any one of us, for example, were to call them a clown person, then they would just curl up in a fetal position, metaphorically at least. It's Like they live in glass houses pretty much.
Yeah, don't throw stones at glass houses.
Yeah, like that's the thing with these culture war people, and it doesn't just go for the left either, it goes for the right too. Like both sides of this culture war, these people just form their opinions based off emotions, and if you challenge them, they don't grow those opinions because they don't have the brains to do it. They're not smart people. They are lower life forms. Their brains aren't programmed to it. They will never learn because they can't learn. I actually pity them because they are inferior people. Like, how did you graduate?
Honest to God, I just find it funny.
I pity them because it's like that. How do you get through the day-to-day life? How did you even graduate if this is what your mind can muster? Like, you're nothing.
Yeah. Going through another 4. I refuse to believe you could make a movie like Godzilla -1 and also have a take like this. These just can't fit with each other. I refuse it. This will vindicate my take that Godzilla -1 is artless garbage. Probably won't. Just docked a point off my rating for Godzilla -1 for this, of course. Bro is itching to direct a Hollywood movie, huh? Not really. It's it's really funny how people will make these claims. The article is right here for him to elaborate on what he means.
Also, you say that like it would be a problem. I'd honestly like to see what Yamazaki could do with the MonsterVerse.
No, like, what's it called? People just looking for excuses. All right, right here. What a liar. Every movie with kaijus I saw are artistic AF. Better than anything from the entire Disney universe. I mean, not wrong. But like, it's very clear that bro just didn't read the article. This is so disrespectful to Ishiro Honda. He took his art very seriously, even or especially when he was making silly giant monster movies. That's why the films are still beloved, and that's why this guy was even able to make a career off the back of what he did for film. Again, just read the article. It's very clear what he's saying.
Talking about Ishiro Honda.
Everyone, even elderly country folk, can love art that is meaningful and has something on its mind beyond being enjoyable. This is not only lazy, it's almost like admitting defeat. Why bother with having a voice when I can just spoon feed my product to the consumer? That's also not what he's saying either.
Yeah, it's like you're saying that a piece of that someone can't take what they view as like a piece of entertainment seriously while they're making it. Like if they want, especially if they want to make it the best piece of entertainment that they can. Like it's like I don't understand. Like does he seriously think that Yamazaki was making this like as if he was like just some gun for hire, like he was like how certain directors are hired to make an MCU movie? Like this is not the case, that kind of case at all.
Well, again, it's very clear that like when he says this is my art is creating a product that people enjoy. It's not like just spoon feeding something to an audience member.
He is
Basically, he's saying that I make this for everyone. Like many artists who say, I'm not making this for you, I'm making this for me. Yamazaki is saying, I'm making this for all of you, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my art, it's our art.
Yeah, or what's it called? In recent times, I've come to terms with the fact that Godzilla, my favorite franchise ever, will always just be the cool giant monster series, and that the artsy films that really make you think will take a backseat. But my God, this hurts. Explain why he adapted. Again, same thing.
I think Minecraft World has something to say.
Let me just go through these last ones. Creating testaments to the status quo is an artistic statement in itself, even if neither author nor audience wants it to be. Really isn't a testament to the status quo. This is basically the same PR spiel that game publishers and Hollywood producers give when they declare that their artwork isn't meant to be political, non-committal. I just want to make fun things, comments that don't rock the boat.
-1's a very political movie. It carries most of the scenes.
You very clearly haven't watched the movie if you're saying something like that.
Yeah,
like it's a very political movie. It carries most from the 54 film while also expanding it to criticizing old school Bushido.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Or what's it called? This is an actual moral failure, FYI. And then because now we're just getting down to the single ones. This is the core of fascism, by the way.
Can I go back on my tangent?
1 second. Apart from the gratuitous insults, everything in the quotes in the thread is true. Which we're gonna get to this guy because I also had an argument with him in another thread. So now you can go back on your tangent.
Okay, but first, Minecraft. Was it you, Vic, or Minecraft World that was trying to talk?
Yeah, it was me.
Okay,
it was me. I was going to say that Yamazaki is not exactly in the same position as a lot of the MonsterVerse directors, but even with that, a couple of them wanted to do those projects. Like both Doherty and Wingard have stated they are very adamant fans of the characters and have wanted to do this for a while now, in a way very similar to that of Yamazaki.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's passion involved with
Go back and watch some of the comic featurettes. Doherty was freaking passionate as hell.
Yeah, and even if, and say what you will about Wingard's, like, you know, the writing quality of Wingard's MonsterVerse entries. I mean, I'm sure we've all said our pieces about that. But if there's one thing we can't take away from those movies, like it at least seemed like they were at least made by somebody who has a clear love for the franchise, you know, in some way, shape, or form. You know, it's just a particular. It's obvious. Yeah.
Let's also remember the fact that one of Yamazaki's favorite Godzilla films is GMK.
Exactly.
Yeah.
-1.
A film made by Shusuke Kaneko, who go watch Big Action Ville's video and you'll get an idea for how much he loves these characters.
Or literally just like the fact that like that entire film is about Godzilla coming back because everyone's forgetting the crimes Japan committed in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very clear that Yamazaki is not trying to justify the Imperial Japanese actions, but it's trying to humanize those people who were put in a shitty situation and had to make the best of it, which is exactly why there's no reason for him to cover the massacres or the war crimes committed by the Japanese, because he doesn't want to focus on those characters because they're obviously objectively wrong.
I got something.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually got into a debate with someone about whether or not U.S. occupied troops would have made the movie better in every way. This was not on Twitter. This was grill me later. I'm a Reddit user. This was on Reddit.
Ew, Reddit.
I told you to grill me later.
Well, what's it called? Literally, I'm on Twitter because there's actually a lot of cool artists I like on Twitter, not as much on Reddit. And because of that, like I have a Reddit, but I've never posted, commented, or liked anything. I literally just sit there like a ghost, just looking and seeing what's going on Reddit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Okay.
I got into a debate with this, and it genuinely, I have been flashing back to that debate exactly because bringing up GMK and you with all of that, just oh god, words I'm getting lost. Oh shit. TLDR, they missed the point.
Yeah, I mean, even the host of EFAP, which they were still overall positive on -1. Even they pretty much brought up a point of like, so where is the U.S. occupied sort of portion of the sort of historical context?
I think what's it called? If I remember correctly, I'm not probably going to be quoting them one for one, but EFAP's essential argument was that the actually having the U.S. and the Soviet Union team up to fight Godzilla would actually support the themes of the film because it would show further international cooperation, as well as it also logistically, given the threat Godzilla poses, that it's not something the U.S. could have avoided and not done anything about. Which here's the thing, I do not argue against that point because I think that it is a well-made point. However, I believe that specifically Godzilla is not just a manifestation of war for the Japanese. I think it's also the hurdle of rebuilding a country after it was devastated, which is why the title is called Godzilla -1. The idea of Japan going into the minus because of Godzilla -1 is so relevant. And I think that ultimately, since we're dealing with history, I think that if we're going to talk about implicitly, Yamazaki is aware of the Japanese economic miracle. And I think that having Japan and just regular citizens be the ones to defeat Godzilla and have a positive future, and this focus on defending that future is relevant because it points directly to this idea that the next generation of Japan can be better, and ultimately we can bring this country back, and not necessarily to this idea back to the emperor raiding or have a military again, just having a better life in general. And considering what Godzilla did in terms of what it did for the Japanese economy as well, and how enduring it was, and how it inspired things on television, and what television also did for Japan, I think that Godzilla ultimately carries with it that extra bit of legacy as well. I don't think that was something intended necessarily explicitly by the film, but if we're gonna say like, oh, this is implicit, then you have to then also accept this implicit reading as well.
Yeah.
Okay. But either way, now back on the whole thing with Eternal Zero, since that ties back to -1, neither version of Eternal Zero is a pro-war story. Because
I think you cut out there, Joe.
Yeah.
Yep, no, P cut out. And what's it called? Actually, what's it called? His Minecraft, you didn't explicitly kind of say what arguments were made in your whether or not U.S. occupied troops would have been.
He was mostly just citing like it's historically accurate. That was the entire central argument. The problem was that it's not historically accurate, and I'm just like, okay, but why does it need to be? Why? Yeah.
Well, given the fact that like there's a lot of things that aren't technically historically accurate because the Takao was never scuttled in this universe. There's already precedent for
the fact that Godzilla exists already removes any and all historical accuracy that the film
or
would
Odo
have.
Island existing. Like the liberties that are taken. Oh, I guess he probably must have sputtered out. That means he'll come back in a little bit. F for Gojin. F's for Gojin in the chat, guys. F's for Gojin. Yeah, like the thing I'll say is it's really abundantly clear that like the future that Japan is looking towards at the end of this film isn't this return to glory or things of that nature. It is literally just rebuilding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to be better. We just want to be in a better position than where we are now.
Mm-hmm. And I think that like if people can like sympathize with the characters in All Quiet on the Western Front, then you should like also be able to sympathize with the characters in Godzilla -1 without the film having to explicitly tell you these are the bad guys. Look at all the terrible things that they as a collective group did, rather than looking at what these soldiers explicitly did.
Exactly. We had this entire oh god, we had this exact discussion with the Godzilla Day stream. Not every soldier is going to know of something like Unit 731. Not every soldier is going to be aware of something like that. So that immediately, words. So like that's something to be understood, and that's something that the film understands. Just.
It understands it and it conveys it well.
Exactly. That too.
And like it just boggles my mind how someone can take the wrong message from something that so clearly states what it is.
Yeah.
The story, the characters, and the metaphors that
got knocked.
it chooses.
Oh, I'll be back. Oh, his internet got knocked. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're doing that, because speaking of, we're gonna go to this guy right here. Let's pull back. This dude. That's the guy right here. He was like, oh, everything they said was like correct. And I'm like, oh, a new one. And that's why I added. He's like, sorry, the -1 has some weird pro-military tendencies. And then dude's like, pro-military consists of all the characters are in the army. The government can't do shit. So the soldiers have to defeat Godzilla. The soldiers did nothing wrong during the war. It was all the higher ups. Everyone is mad that they lost. So they find a war to win with Godzilla. So Mizushima, as well as like most of the tertiary cast aren't soldiers. And Mizushima's entire character is explaining that, yeah, going to war isn't like some big hero type of thing. Like, it's not something that you're going to want to like be like, oh, I wish I was in the war. I wish the war lasted longer. Things of that nature. The government can't do shit, so the soldiers have to defeat Godzilla. Considering the fact that the government doesn't stop the civilian-led effort, it's very clear that they're technically doing things within the purview of the government, allowing them to do this. The soldiers did nothing wrong during the war. It was all the higher ups. One, considering the fact that the soldiers here aren't soldiers that would have committed war crimes, and not every Japanese soldiers would have committed war crimes, it's needlessly pointless because the story isn't talking about war crimes to be like, oh, look at you guys, you clearly did the war crimes. And it's important also to highlight that yes, the higher ups telling soldiers to do these actions would still condemn the soldiers for going through with those actions to begin with. And also, they don't find a war to win with Godzilla. Godzilla directly attacks them. And the guys like tertiary characters, even though I can start with a main character, they're still only composed of military, so that's just wrong. Reading between the lines, they lost because their leaders didn't value life enough or something. The soldiers' actions during the war are never questioned. Like, considering the fact that Koichi's entire character is about questioning whether or not dying for a cause that you know is pointless is good, and then he also says, "Okay, their war isn't over." Literally, go Minecraft.
That was Shikishima's entire arc. The questioning whether or not he was in the right or in the wrong. That was Shikishima's entire arc.
Yeah, and if you want a Godzilla movie that condemns World War II era Japan for its war crimes, it's like GMK is like right over there. -1
GMK is right there, and -1 is directly referencing GMK.
Yeah, Yamazaki. Even though Yamazaki was inspired by, hold on a sec. Even though Yamazaki was inspired by GMK, in certain elements, it's very clear when he was writing -1 that he didn't want to do a one-to-one sort of like a reiteration of GMK's political undertones. He was going at a different angle entirely, while still kind of saying the similar sentiment of World War II Japan wasn't exactly all that great, in terms of their practices and what have you. They were just going about it in a different talk. They were just kind of that just wasn't the main point, though.
It also kind of robs the viewer of agency in the fact that, if you're gonna take someone to watch Godzilla -1, and they wanted to ask me more about what happened in World War II, I'm not going to explain to them, oh, Japan did nothing wrong. I'm going to explain to them what happened during World War II and why, Japan as a whole, in terms of being a political entity, was in the wrong. But what happened to these people who are on the ground having to deal with the situation and being told by other people to go do this, go do that, are going to be pretty usually average Joes. And that there are going to be a lot of psychos and a lot of terrible people who will go along with these actions and enjoy it. But that's not the vast majority of people.
Exactly.
Not to mention the fact that also you could say that they don't talk about the massacres that happened in China. Most of the people who were involved, he also the guy also says most of these people in the army, most of these people in the Navy, and Shikishima was technically Air Force. Or Navy also, because he flew planes, and you can have aircraft while you're in the Navy. But in this case, most of these people were fighting the Americans. They weren't the ones committing these kinds of actions to the Chinese. Even though you could say, oh well, they committed the war crimes against the Americans. Anyone who says that, especially when they're talking about war crimes committed against the Americans during World War II, fair, I guess, in most situations. But in your case, a lot of these same people are the same people who are going to be oh, well, we nuked Japan and we firebombed Japan. All we want to do is kill civilians. And I've had people like that come into the chat before. It's disingenuous in most cases when people bring up war crimes in this nature. And Xenodrum's in the chat.
Yeah. Also,
real quick, I know Xenodrum said he wanted to say something real quick.
Okay.
You are good to go, my man.
Go ahead.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep. Yeah, I wanted to make this real quick regarding the very, very apparent lack of media literacy amongst these brainlets. But I know I'm not the Godzilla expert. I'm probably the only one here who hasn't seen all of the Godzilla movies.
Shame. I'm just kidding. Now go.
I still haven't seen -1, and I've been avoiding spoilers for the longest time. And I might have to dip after this because I don't want to be spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to say real quick, regarding entertainment and art, there is no difference. An art house film can still be entertaining. An art film can be just as entertaining as a blockbuster. There's no difference in their nature. It's an entertaining film can still be artistic. An entertaining film is artistic, even if it's brainless. another thing, blockbusters, art house, surrealistic David Lynch shit. It's all art. Movies are art, and anything. It's like one of y'all said before. Anything that is entertaining is art, and anything in this is my view. Anything that can be created is art.
Yeah,
And
like
yeah,
Like, one sec. Let me pull up the dictionary definition of art real fast. The dictionary defines art as the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power.
yes, that's exactly. It's the thing with these people. They don't give a shit. They just like to bitch and moan about fascism and entertainment,
The
art.
spirit of
They
Hitler's
sound
ghost.
they sound very fucking pretentious too when they do that.
Well,
yeah,
no,
like
this is
I
a good
mean,
example right here because this person's like, this is objectively a leap in logic, but this whole discussion is starting to feel dangerous. Lots of art should be nothing and mean nothing and just be fun. Going on here, while not fascist, is very beneficial to current day fascism. I feel like six question marks. Dude's like, just for fun.
Yeah, no,
The
fuck
problem I
off with
have with
that.
this user is the fact that like, dude's like, give me examples, and quite literally, it's like, it's what most stories should be doing. And the fact that people take issue with that is telling, because I remember I said that's in response to OmniViewer, and it says, oh, this person quoted it. It's the person who made this thread. And I literally have to elaborate. It's what most stories should be doing. Making things for people to enjoy, have fun with, instead of making them miserable. Has nothing to do with political and non-political. Most is not all art, like you said. So you're clearly, it like literally almost every single example that she gives is not even saying that like, no, you can't have any political art at all. It's just that a lot of people just want to make things for fun and enjoy things. Like, I think when I responded to 14's tweet originally, it was essentially he's not Ryan Johnson. And let me see if I can pull this up.
or Todd
It's
Phillips.
not gonna pull up, so I have to remove, and then I have to add present screen. Oh, I have to do it this way.
Yeah, don't dox yourself, man.
Oh no, it's not doxing. It's just because I have to bring it up as a new window. That's why. There we go. Yeah, like I remember when Ryan Johnson had posted your Snoke theory sucks. Like there was no reason for him to do this at all. All it comes across is mean spirited, and people
Oh yeah,
in like who want to like theorize and talk about like this story are making theories because they want to engage with the art because they love it. Just
yeah.
telling them that
It's
like all your theories are terrible, it just sends a bad message. And then also Pablo Hidalgo, whose literal career was like talking about and writing things like about Star Wars lore, putting this here, also has a bitter taste because it's like you're saying these theories suck when like your literal entire career has been writing about fictional like universe mechanics and goings on in this universe that aren't directly connected to the films.
Yeah,
oh
your
yeah.
whole job is to like write explanations, or pretty much like kind of about the theories that people do have about stuff like the concepts like the Force and what have you. Like that's your job as a writer.
Mhm.
Like another example would just be, I mean, people. I mean, we kind of like say like how like people say like people criticize Yamazaki for saying like he's making art stuff to entertain, and people are like art isn't supposed to entertain people. It's like I mean it's like I mean if you look at Joker 2 might actually be the closest example where people could be like, well, I'm pretty sure this piece of art was not meant to entertain
Yeah,
anybody
and same thing
except
with I
for
think the Hangover Part
Yes,
3 as
and I
Everyone
well.
collectively agreed that movie was meant to insult its audience.
yeah,
yes.
like me.
This is Oh yeah, this is the difference between someone like Yamazaki and someone like Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson makes his movies for him. He makes his movies for himself, and he has a lot of midwits who love his movies.
And
Uh,
Todd Phillips.
I
yeah.
think. Well, no.
Now
Here's the thing.
I
Before
haven't.
you can say,
Oh,
before you say anything,
okay.
I will. The one thing I'll say about Todd Phillips is the fact that he makes really good movies, but he doesn't like getting shoehorned into making sequels of his movies. He's the kind of person who likes to make a point and leave it there. And I think that, like, I'm not sure why the executives thought that he was a good choice to continue with Joker. I think probably had he not been the person to continue Joker and someone else had done it, he probably wouldn't have cared that much, in my opinion, because it's someone else who's doing it and who wants to do it rather than him, who doesn't see the point in continuing this story or sequelizing it. That is my view on Todd Phillips. I don't think he's someone who like hates his audience, because both like Joker and Joker 2 and Hangover Part 3, although I think he did better than Hangover Part 3, are like essentially these commentaries on sequels. I just think that like in his case, never should have been the director to do it. Had he been the director not to do it, that film would have been so much better without his presence. Well, in the case of Rian Johnson wants the control, and at every opportunity he wants to subvert your expectations, because for him that's interesting, and he doesn't really care if an audience member is satisfied with it because he thinks he's that clever. That's my problem with Rian Johnson.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I was about to say, I haven't seen a Yamazaki film, admittedly, but he seems like the kind of guy who cares about his audience, right? Like you can make an art film and still have the audience in mind. You can still entertain the audience and still make your meaningful art that's, personal. Like Kojima does it all the time. A lot of his art is very autobiographical. And with Yamazaki, he really seems like a chill dude who just like, he wants to make movies to entertain people, but he also wants to make what he wants to make. And with Johnson, he doesn't give a fuck. He essentially makes his art for the sake of himself. You're going to watch it, you're going to like it because I made it. It's for me. I made this for me. This is my art, and you're going to love it, motherfucker. It's the same type of art you see in those pretentious fucking art galleries. And another thing about Yamazaki. Again, I haven't seen any of it, but from what I've heard and from what I see from like clips from his other parts of his filmography, like Eternal Zero and his Lupin the Third movie. From what I've seen from that is that he wants to make something very creative. And what I mean by creative, I mean he wants to create art. But with Johnson is very anti-art when it comes to his filmmaking process. I've seen a lot of his movies, unfortunately. And it's the same case with, Last Jedi. It's the same case with Looper. It's the same case with Knives Out, Glass Onion. He makes destructive art, by which I mean, like literally Glass Onion. It depicts the Mona Lisa being burned and destroyed. It's literally, that's his entire MO with movies. He is very anti-art. He hates art, and he makes destructive postmodernist art that destroys rather than creates, and it's very antithetical to the very principles of art and culture itself. It's I don't know. It feels very evil. It feels very evil to me.
Very true. But like another thing when it comes to Johnson is the fact that like he's explicitly said that like there's nothing that could have been done to improve his scripts or anything that he could have changed. But there's never been something that Yamazaki said that's equivalent to like, I made the perfect film. He's extremely humble about the work he's done, and like given the fact that we know a little bit more about the production behind -1 in comparison to like other Godzilla films or like other films in the industry, he did a lot to like really change how his studio was set up, be there for his team, look over things with them. The process that he decided to do for his project is very telling about the kind of man he is in comparison to someone like Rian Johnson. Like even seeing him with his actors, it's very clear that Rian Johnson has a very high opinion of himself and does not listen to anything other people say. Whereas with Yamazaki, he's there with the VFX supervisor that he worked with, or the composer, or the rest of his team. Or like, what's it called? Look at the man's speech at the Oscars. It's very clear where where he feels like his ideas are, and by extension, a glimpse into what his politics would be.
Yes.
I will say this: I don't think this is true in this case. I could make a better argument that Hayao Miyazaki is more of a Imperial Japanese war apologist than someone like Yamazaki, because Yamazaki has no problem with like the American film industry. He says there's a lot of problems with it, but he has a very great appreciation for the
Oh,
American
yeah.
film industry,
I mean,
whereas
he
Hayao
reminds me of
Miyazaki is
Kurosawa.
explicitly very anti-American in so many aspects.
He
But like
reminds me a lot of
Yamazaki's a
Kurosawa.
fascist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at how he, like specifically how he treats the MonsterVerse by contrast, he straight up stated he is a fan of this stuff. He straight up stated that he enjoys the MonsterVerse as is, and it's shown that he took some inspiration from it with the movie itself. Hayao Miyazaki, a lot of stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
But like, exactly.
Like again, Miyazaki makes wonderful works. One of my friends, she loves Miyazaki's works, but like, I'm sorry, but the man is probably far closer to someone who is going to defend the Imperial Japanese than Yamazaki, even though Yamazaki has made more works that seem to explicitly, on the surface,
What's
be more
ironic
partial
is
to the
that
Imperial Japanese.
What's ironic
And
is that
Gojin's back. Welcome
Oh,
back.
sorry. Hey,
fine.
Boy. Oh, wait,
Well.
there's another one. 2 Gojins. What does it mean?
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm back. I had to go on my phone because the computer's being a fucking cunt right now. Can you guys
Well,
hear me
we're now
properly?
recording, so at least I'm not going to get
Probably
flagged
shouldn't
for
say that on stream.
I'm not getting monetized for this, and I'm going to blame you for this, Joey.
Also,
Good.
you're echoing.
And you're echoing too, a little bit.
You got a bit of an echo there.
Sorry. I'm going to try to get my computer to actually work.
Oh wait, one sec. Mute it if it's on your computer. That might be a reason. Or not.
Echo.
But can you at least understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yes, we
you're
understand
coming
what you're
in.
saying, but if we
Yeah.
respond back, it's gonna echo back. Do you have like headphones, dude? One sec. Let me unmute
How'd you
you.
know his name was Phones?
One sec.
Why
Do
is
you
it- oh wait, I
potentially
think he
have
muted
the
himself.
stream
Those phones.
going on while?
Oh,
Do you potentially have the stream going on while you're on stream?
One sec. I'm gonna remove Joey real quick. If you're getting keep your phone, like try to work on your situation. Put in private chat if you get some headphones, because I think it's because it's echoing out of your phone. That's why we're hearing ourselves.
Yeah, get some wired headphones. I'm literally on a phone right now, and it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I'm using a phone as well.
Yeah,
Y'all are
I have my
poor.
laptop
I need to
right now.
buy y'all a bunch of shit.
I got my laptop with my headphones.
Yeah, I have my laptop with headphones and a microphone.
I'm on my giant brick of a PC that I finally finished paying off with my headphones. I need to buy y'all like software and computers and stuff.
I mean, I would use a computer, but mine is ancient right now, so at some point it would have to.
Mine can't even connect to the internet.
Jeez.
Damn.
I only ever use it for like offline shit, like editing, writing shit like that. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, y'all really need y'all need to upgrade all of y'all's game. That's what I need. That's what I say.
Hey, I've had this computer for 5 years
I
and it's
just-
worked well.
No, that's
Same
true.
here.
I
Mine's
just got
like
this computer
7 years
for my
old, I
birthday.
think.
Well, dude, I'll say this: the laptop that I'm using as my second monitor, essentially, it served me well, and it's still serving me well. But like, I needed to upgrade, especially considering the projects I'm working on or want to work on in the future.
My laptop, it is like 11. It's pretty much 11 years old, and it's still going. Old Bessie's still kicking.
Old
Yeah,
Bessie
it's
bought
like-
that's
yeah.
noon.
It's like a
Beef,
pair
you
of
ain't probably able to
shoes.
make that beef. Oh,
It's
dude,
like
I
a
need
good
to get new
pair-
shoes as well.
Yeah. Well, you wear one good pair of shoes, you don't want to get rid of them.
The only reason I don't want to get a new pair of shoes is because of the fact is I hate paying for new shoes. And I'm like, why are shoes like $70-$60? Dude, I just want like
Vanity.
a good pair. Literally, it's the vanity. I'm like, I just need shoes that like work. I understand like you kind of maybe need a little bit more if you want to make your shoes like work really well, but still, like, dude, please.
It's like car collectors, you know. They
I-
never they never drive them, they never wear them.
At
You
least
know
for
what I mean?
cars, I can say this. I can understand why someone's gonna want to like buy a car because that's like a little bit more understandable of a purchase versus.
Well, no,
like,
but I mean, like
shoes.
the collectors, like shoe collectors and car collectors, they're like one and the same because the shoe collectors they're afraid of like getting creases on them when they wear them, and with car collectors they're afraid of like they're gonna get in a wreck and ruin their Model T. You know?
To be fair, with the cars, that is completely understandable considering.
Oh well, yeah,
those things
but I
are
mean, like
expensive
you know,
now.
what's the point of a car if you can't drive it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
What's the point of shoes if you can't wear them?
No shoes.
Yeah, fair.
No shoes,
Homeless guy could use those shoes.
bro. Think of the homeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh
I
yeah.
think another problem I have with a lot of the discourse that occurred out of this is the fact that like most of the people that were talking about this weren't even like Godzilla fans. It was mostly like people who probably saw -1, aren't engaged with a fan base at all, and they just want an excuse to call someone a fascist. Like
Sounds like someone we know.
they are quite literally tourists in the
And
most
they call
flagrant sense.
us that.
Yeah.
I
I
think
would-
they're
Yeah,
just the people. They're the people who saw a movie about post World War II Japan and thought, but does it talk about war crimes?
Yeah. Does it tell me how much I hate the Imperial Japanese? Because I
am-
really, it's not like I already tell
Because
people this
see,
all the
the
time.
Japanese, they were in the Axis powers, and you know who else was in the
Is it
Axis powers?
England here.
Yeah. When in reality, Hitler most definitely must
Cue
have
hit-
definitely hated the Japanese because
Cue,
well, you know.
cue epic rap battles Hitler quote.
Emperor Hirohito versus Adolf Hitler.
Bring him.
Mr. Funny Mustache Dude.
Like
Oh
literally.
man. Oh yeah, another thing. What you said earlier, Zim, about Yamazaki's love for American films. It reminds me a lot of Kurosawa and his love for American films. He loves westerns, and he based a lot of his works on old westerns.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of his classics.
Well, what's it called? A lot of
yeah,
people
like,
kind of
what-
forget the
like,
fact that like
go
I
watch
forget which
Seven
which
Samurai.
Kurosawa.
Go watch
Well,
Seven
Seven
Samurai.
Samurai
You'll
ended up
see a lot
getting
of the Western influence.
not Seven Samurai. It was Yojimbo that got essentially re-edited and becomes the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like
Yeah.
samurai films and
It
Western
became
films have a
Fistful
lot
of Dollars.
Fistful of Dollars. I'm
Yeah.
super bad with my Western films. I'm sorry.
I've
And
yet-
I believe Yojimbo was based off of a novel that was an American novel about the Old West, and that was like repurposed into Yojimbo. And Sergio Leone, he saw that and he made it a Western.
Mhm.
And you know it's a very interesting, peculiar set of events. But again, it reminds me a lot about Kurosawa. He loves American films, and so does Yamazaki, and they both find influences from that. Like you said, like didn't you say before? Like he takes a lot of inspiration from the MonsterVerse when he made. Yeah, when he made that. Yeah.
We can see that. We can see at least Godzilla 2014. We can see the influence not just with the cinematography, but there are rewatching -1. I need to rewatch G14, but rewatching -1, there was a lot of character influence that I could find with Godzilla -1 and G14. Not just the fact that Shikishima is a soldier coming home from an armed conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not like Miyazaki, who looks at that gun scene in the sword versus gun scene in Indiana Jones and says, "American movies are so violent. They're so violent and evil." You know?
Simon Pegg, who calls the MonsterVerse cultural appropriation.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, like
You
that's
know what's
stupid as
really
shit.
funny is that like this is the only time I'm probably ever gonna make this relevant. Is I know Simon Pegg plays a lot of like hilarious characters. My first interaction with Simon Pegg was seeing him as Nicholas Angel in Hot Fuzz. I had no clue that the guy essentially plays goofballs for most of his roles. So like, my entire understanding of him was like, bro, he really can do a like straight edge action star really well. I would love to see him do other things. And I think I remember I mentioned this to my dad, and my dad was like, oh yeah, no, he plays like goofballs all the time. And I was like, what? I was so because I think the second movie of his that I ended up seeing was Shaun of the Dead, and it was
Isn't
so
Shaun of the Dead?
Shaun of
Yeah.
the Dead. Yeah,
yeah, he's a main character in that movie.
he didn't
him?
make the movie.
Yes,
Simon Pegg. Do you know who we're talking about? We're talking about
I
Simon
know
Pegg.
who you're talking about. I've seen pictures of. How the hell did I not recognize him?
dude, it's not
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the
We're
Dead.
talking about Shaun of the Dead, not Dawn of the Dead.
Not
Yeah,
Dawn of the
both.
Dead.
I know you're talking about Shaun of the Dead. I know that.
I literally have to stop my animation because
honest
of
to
that.
God, I thought that was Brad Pitt.
What?
No, you're trolling. Fuck off. You're trolling.
Honest to God.
Bro, how?
Dude, they're both Edgar Wright movies starring Simon Pegg.
One sec, wait, what?
There's no way.
No,
What,
wait.
did you watch
Wait,
Fight
how
Club
did you
and
think that
think
was
Brad Pitt was Simon Pegg?
I don't.
Yeah,
Looking at it
look
now,
at that
I have
picture.
no
It's literally
idea
Fight
how I
Club.
thought. I had no
See?
idea how I thought it was
It's Brad Pitt on the right. It's Brad
I
Pitt
think
on the
it's
right, and
probably
it's
because
Edward
I
Norton
watched-
on the left. It's
I think it's
obvious.
probably just because I watched World War. I think it's probably just because I watched World War Z before watching Dawn of the Dead.
So
That's
you
your fault.
really
That's
did
your
watch it?
fault, bro.
No. In that picture, it's Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Oh man. Oh, maybe we are media illiterate.
Maybe the media literacy has really gotten to us.
I think
Maybe.
we're just
Yeah, we media literacy too close to the sun.
Media literacy too. What are we, some kind of media illiterate squad?
Oh man. Oh fuck, man. Oh yeah. I also wanted to say I've been listening early on, and Gojin is based, red pilled, and absolutely right about these people. These people have no brains,
Ooh,
and they shouldn't be talking about art at all. So
that looked pretty.
yeah.
And I bet you all those people who called Yamazaki and some anti-art fascist, I bet you they probably I could bet you a good number of them probably like Ryan Johnson's movies.
Oh yeah. The ironic thing is, I'm pretty sure I read this somewhere, but I'm pretty sure Hayao Miyazaki is liberal or like very leftist leaning.
I think so, yeah. Something
Yeah,
to that effect.
that's the irony of it, is because he's also imperialist.
Again, like I said, I could totally see Miyazaki being far more like Japanese imperial Japan war apologist than
Oh yeah.
Yamazaki.
honestly, all of this discussion, since we brought up GMK multiple times in comparison, I'm wondering, would people say the same thing if GMK released nowadays?
I bet they would be like, I bet they didn't go hard enough.
Let me just say this before I go.
Or probably
'cause
something to the
I might
effect of
have
like
to dip.
Japan deserved it, bro. Don't you understand, bro?
Oppenheimer was such a bitch.
Well, no, here's the thing is that literally Yamazaki did an interview with not an interview, but they did a back and forth with Nolan.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I saw that.
Wait, when? Yeah, I remember hearing about that. When was that?
It was because I actually have it in the background.
I think
that
it was
was
when
it
both
was
those
8
movies
months
were in
ago.
theaters.
March
Oh,
5th,
really?
2024.
Oh no, okay.
Huh?
I thought I could have sworn that interview was when both those movies were out at the time.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think
like a promo
Oppenheimer
thing.
was coming to like an end, I think, in its theatrical run. And
Yeah, no, I think it was just about to start showing in Japan
oh yeah,
at that
well,
time, because American movies they come out like a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another thing I have to say before I dip, Kurosawa is essentially the Giga Chad, and Miyazaki, bless his heart, I like some of his movies. He's the soy beta cuck on the left end. Kurosawa is the Giga Chad. And I will say this: Dreams, Akira Kurosawa's Dreams, 1990, a far better movie in terms of messaging and just a message in general and meaningful than Princess Mononoke.
That's like Mononoke is probably like one of my favorite Miyazaki films, but like
It was the first one I saw,
I
and it
kind
was
of want to
just
throw
so
hands,
preachy.
but I kind of don't want to throw hands. Like,
It was the first one I saw,
You
and
throw
every
hands
time
at Ponyo 5. You can throw hands.
I will say this though, Ponyo made up for it, man. Ponyo,
Ponyo
I
was my
nearly cried
Ponyo was my
from like
first
the
Studio
very
Ghibli
first
movie.
6 minutes.
Wait, what did you say, Minecraft?
Ponyo was my first Studio Ghibli movie.
Really?
I first saw it when I was 6.
Huh.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since.
Mononoke was the first. I have that one on DVD. I saw it because everyone said it's his best movie or something like that, and I saw it. It felt just like Avatar, by which I mean it was very pretty to look at. It was very beautiful at times. The action is cool, but the messaging felt very preachy. But I
I'll
will
tell
say
you this
this: it
much,
is
I
better than
never thought
Avatar
Avatar
in
was
every
that.
way.
I never thought Avatar was actually that good.
No, it's not.
I would make
It's a glorified tech demo.
I would make a witch Avatar joke, but I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Look.
Yeah.
In the other, if we're talking about the other Avatar, that's not a comparison at all. The other
we're talking
one
about,
is
like-
No, we're
fiction.
talking about the blue Avatar people. Not Aang.
Yeah, I'm not talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah, I'm referencing the bald one.
And we're not talking about the blue carpet spirit Avatar either. So we don't talk about that one at all.
Yeah, no, but we do talk about the bald one, the one that spins.
Yeah, the good Avatar.
Yeah, I probably want to do another full watch through of that show because why not?
Same here, man. It's been like 2 years since I last saw the whole show.
Thing is, I promised a lot of people that I'd get through Arcane, and I promised a friend of mine that I'd play Persona 5 Royal. So
I still haven't seen Arcane yet. I still haven't seen the Penguin. I've still got to watch through all the Godzilla movies. I have the entire Showa era and the entire Heisei era saved on my PC, and I want to like binge them all and just get them all over with.
I'd
so
say
I can
like
finally
literally,
be in the
since
cool
you haven't
kids
watched
club.
-1 yet, just watch -1.
Really?
Like watch
have you
-1
watched
first.
GMK yet?
No, I haven't even watched Raids
Okay,
Again
do
yet.
that.
I'm
Okay.
here to cuddle Zimzola to death.
Okay,
Oh, God.
Yeah. I have a lot of catching up to do. I did see 54. I did see Shin. I saw the Emmerich version when I was a kid. I do not remember anything about it except for the Jurassic Park sequence in the it kind of was reminiscent of The Lost World in a way. With you remember the scene in The Lost World with the long grass?
Yeah.
The ending or the near the ending of the Emmerich Godzilla, you had like the little baby Godzillas hunting people down and shit. That's what it reminded me of. That's the only bit I remember from that movie. That and the MetLife building and the taxi driving out of Godzilla's mouth. That's it. Oh, and Siskel and Ebert making a cameo appearance. But yeah, that's it. I really want to catch up because I love Japanese cinema, and I'm sick of being around a bunch of Godzilla people and not being able to share my thoughts.
Yeah,
And I'd probably say watch -1, just so you can be part of the -1 discourse, and then
All right.
I'd probably say like.
But then, well, here's the thing: if I watch -1 first, then they're just gonna call me a tourist who only ever watched and liked -1, who doesn't know anything about the show era.
Zeno. Watch GMK first, so you have an idea of what to expect for -1, and then get to -1.
Okay, GMK is it's all monsters attack.
Yes.
Giant monsters all out attack. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Giant monsters all out attack. It's from 2001.
So that's like Millennium era.
Yeah, Millennium era.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta find that then. Because I don't have any of the Millennium movies because they're very, very hard to find. They're not on archive. They are on archive.
Zeno, after the stream, I'll hook you up. Do not worry.
Okay. They all have to be like within a really good size because like the only ones I've managed to find on archive.org, they all pass 2 gigabytes, and that's like, fuck that. 2 gigs per movie, fuck that.
Yeah, no.
I don't care about quality, just as long as it's like, as long as I can make out what's going on.
Mhm.
And they all have to be Japanese with English subtitles. I refuse to watch any foreign movie with dubs.
No, that's a
Okay,
call.
I was gonna say Pluto
yeah.
TV, but since you said that, because Pluto TV has the dubbed versions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's a good sub rip for -1? Because the
I'll say
copy I
this.
have,
The
the copy I
Netflix-
have was like a first
Netflix
edition.
has some
It was
good-
like
Netflix has some good
right when it
subtitles.
came out on digital.
I do not actually like Netflix's sub. There's a lot of lines that are changed really weirdly
Yeah,
versus the cinema's
They-
version.
Right.
They do have Netflix does have the theatrical subtitles as well, though.
Do they?
Mm.
Yeah, they do. There's 2. Wait, let me double check this real fast.
No, because I'm looking at it right now.
Because I remember when I first watched the movie when it came to Netflix, they had the theatrical dub, the theatrical sub, with with the English dub subtitles. So
The copy of -1 that I have was like when it came to digital in Japan, and I got a sub rip from a random ass subtitle site that I trust.
Yeah, there
But
is. I know there's
I'm
only
not
several
certain.
different versions because there is the theatrical subs, there is the closed captioning subs, there is the
Yeah.
regular English subs, then there was the fan translation subs that came out right around the time the film had just come out and people weren't sure if it was going to actually make it to like Netflix or any other Western streaming site. So
yeah, Netflix has both. Netflix has both the theatrical.
So y'all would recommend like theatrical?
Yes.
Theatrical subs are the best in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do the theatrical subs.
All right. I'll go look on the subrip sites. Ugh. I download a lot of foreign movies that are very, very hard to find. I just like a few weeks ago I managed to find every Beat Takeshi movie
Nice.
that I could get my hands on. A lot of them a lot of which aren't even released in America because it's so fucking stupid, man. I hate that. Like, you know how hard it was to find Kubi? That was like his most recent movie. And his most recent movie, it's about Lord Nobunaga, the dude who was, Nobunaga. And it's like, man, why aren't people talking about this? Like, this is perfect for the Assassin's Creed Shadows discourse. Like, man, what the fuck?
Assassin's Creed Shadows. Don't even get me
What's
started.
What's funny is that I don't even think Yasuke is even in the movie because it's like a historical epic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and right when I get them all too, he releases another fucking movie, like that quick.
What's it called? That literally, I'm not surprised.
It's called Kubi, Kubi. It's very hard to find, even on pirate sites, man.
We'll have to give it a watch then, because I need to get into more samurai movies and I need to get into more westerns.
Oh yes, they're. Oh, I love both of those genres. They are both my favorite genres. If for westerns, of course, watch Leone. But westerns that I'd recommend are westerns by Sam Peckinpah. The Wild Bunch, Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid. There's a lot of different versions of that one.
Because one of the one Western TV series I finished all the way through was Deadwood. So I finished Deadwood, and I need to watch all the classics again. I also want to watch Sartana. I don't think I've seen that in like years. If I even did see it when I was younger, because I don't remember it all that well. So I don't think I did when I was younger. So
yeah. For westerns, you want to start off like if you want like big bombastic westerns. Sam Peckinpah and Sergio Leone, those are like go to. For like more like classical westerns, John Ford is great. Henry Hathaway is great. True Grit is awesome. There's some, for a horror western, a good horror western, Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk, I have seen. Yeah, I saw Bone Tomahawk because that's on Netflix.
That movie fucks. I love it.
I could say this for like the average person outside of the film being really graphic. I know for a lot of people, Bone
Yeah,
Tomahawk
it
for
really.
most people is going to be very boring.
Oh, well, yeah, the movie does have like a bit of a split reception.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Well,
very split down the middle.
I know. Well, what's it called? I know one reason why some people have an issue with Bone Tomahawk, which is probably again, it's like the same problem as like
it's very very split.
Yeah. But
But yeah, no, I've seen all of that director's movies. S. Craig Zoller is his name. I have seen all of his movies so far. He's only made 3: Bone
Oh.
Tomahawk, Brawl in Cell Block 99, and Dragged Across Concrete. And I cannot even decide which is better because they're all fucking incredible. For an independent like filmmaker, he is absolutely one of our best that we have
Mhm.
working today. And he's
Really?
making another one with Vince Vaughn and Adrian Brody.
Oh, okay.
It's yeah. He also writes novels and shit. He's like he feels like one of those like super fans of Cormac McCarthy types where he gets.
Will he be the
I
one
wouldn't
to
say
finally do it? Give us the fabled Blood Meridian the Blood Meridian adaptation.
no, that goes to another director, John Hillcoat, I believe.
You think he'll actually do it though?
I think I don't know if it's a matter of doing it. If he does do it, I think Hillcoat has it down in the bag because I saw he's only ever made one other Western and one other McCarthy adaptation, which is The Road with Viggo Mortensen, and that movie was good. That movie was good. And his other Western, which is the only other Western that he did, was The Proposition. It's like a Australian Western with Guy Pearce and Ray Winston from 2005, I believe. It's very good. It does feel like Blood Meridian in a lot of ways. And you don't really see that many Australian Westerns. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And it does. It feels a lot like Blood Meridian in a way. And I would recommend it just to get a sense of what you might see him accomplish if he does make that Blood Meridian movie.
If.
Yeah, if.
Yeah.
I hope he does, though. I think he could do it. If not, get the Coens, and if not them, then S. Craig Zoller. Even though that's even though he's gone on record saying he didn't really like the book, or better yet, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. I can see
He
him
can
doing
do
a
it.
pretty good job with it.
I don't think any other director can depict gruesome graphic violence the same way Gibson can. Gibson Gibson knows how to do violence, man.
Yeah, no, I could see
He
him.
knows. He also knows when to show it. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Get Tarantino the fuck away from it, though. I will say that.
No, I do not want Tarantino doing it. I like Tarantino, but
yeah, you got to have like a maturity when it comes to adapting something like Blood Meridian.
I've also
you can't
the
Django.
Turned off too.
Yeah,
I do not like his Django movie. That's another Western I've seen, but like
it's okay. It's like a 7 out of 10 for me. A lot of people call it a masterpiece. I actually don't like that many Tarantino movies that much. Like everything after Kill Bill Part 2, and even Kill Bill Part 2 to an extent were like very like it ranged from okay to I like it, but I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. I like his older films more. His older, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction. I still think Reservoir Dogs is his
Pulp
best.
Fiction with a passion, only because I have to see that film anytime I have to talk about Pulp or explain Pulp fantasy to anyone. I have to then bring up Pulp, and I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Someone not explaining. I have to be like, not the movie. Man, what's it called? Sea Monster's got a dip.
That's funny.
Sea Monster, any quick things you want to say before you bounce, my man?
So I guess the discussion of the Twitter stuff is over pretty much, or
Almost. There's just one more one I wanted to look at. Which I guess
Okay. Sorry about that.
Caption off the animation for a little bit, so I was only using that just to fill the air. But is there anything else you want to quickly say So
Obviously, I guess I'll pretty much just do a quick plug. I mean, got my channel, Sea Monster Essays. Check out my stuff. Where I got got videos, got streams, got one scheduled on Saturday. So that'll be kind of fun. Got a Godzilla Final Wars video in the works right now. Did the editing sort of process now. So hopefully I'll get it done by December. But and follow me on Twitter, Sea Monster, what have you. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm gonna good night, folks.
there you go, man. Have a good one.
Bye, man.
Take care, dude.
Peace. And I think Gojin just came back, and then we lost Gojin again.
I might have to dip in a bit as well.
Yeah,
But,
there's only one more post left to show off. It's like it's not even cope, but it's essentially like just one last argument.
Just something to laugh at.
Yeah, it's not really again. Essentially, it's another apologist for saying that I was actually apologist for the war.
Let's go.
Because essentially his entire argument, as similar to the other guy, is the fact that it has the military, who are supposed to view as evil, be the ones to end the war on their terms instead of a bureaucratic government. Therefore, it's quote unquote reactionary. And the guys are like, Koichi's war not being over is both his rivalry with Godzilla, but also a metaphor for PTSD in World War II. It could you could say, oh, it's a metaphor for PTSD, but given the fact that in the film itself, Koichi doesn't have never saw combat, so therefore his PTSD is specifically tied to Godzilla. It therefore divorces the
I got
from
a
the war from the specifically the complexities or the misgivings people would have about war. But yeah, you have to go, Zeno.
Yeah, I gotta go. My phone's getting hot. My phone is also dying.
Hey, maybe you can cook something on it.
And anyway, I also gotta go because I do not want to get spoiled. Sorry, but
That's good. Go on, man.
I don't normally come in. I don't normally come in these streams. I think this might be my first time here, right?
I think maybe your second or your third. One of the two.
I
Because
know
you've
I've
been
been
here
in a lot of
before.
I think it was mostly in the comments though. But anyway,
Yeah, you've been in the chats of the streams a couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so now mine. Let's go. First time Xeno's drum with a sick chair.
I have no videos on my YouTube channel, but I plan on making them soon. Mainly, I have a few videos planned, and Alien Romulus video, though I might scrap that one because it's getting boring now. Transformers 1, I'm definitely going to make a video on that. I have opinions on that aren't going to be savory, but I also have a very, very, very ambitious video on Kung Fu Panda 4 coming out. And I just want to reassure everybody I'm not going to be stuck making videos about animated movies. Don't worry, I'll end up talking about... I'm not going to be Mr. Enter. I'm not going to be doing that. But I will be talking about movies. I will be talking about all that other shit. YouTube at Xenodromeda. XENOGDROMEDA. Sorry, I go on tangents a lot. You're probably gonna hear that a lot when I go in the future. I gotta be very fucking quick. Shit. I feel like I'm forgetting something though. Oh yeah, Blackaroonie is right. He's always right. Subscribe to him. Fuck everybody else.
Your mom gay.
I have things to say about him.
Your bum gay.
Your mom gay. Simple as.
Laughs in
All right,
asexual.
man. Yeah. Shout out Blackaroonie. Shout out the Black Screen. Fuck yeah. I got a dip. Fuck you.
Black is wrong about No Sympathy for the Monster.
Ooh. That's gonna be fun. I'm gonna love doing let's call it more.
Oh, I'm
streams.
finally back.
You're finally back
Yeah.
after your internet decided to poo-poo all over you.
Yep. Go fuck yourself, you fucking scat fetish weirdo.
Hey, what's it called? It's your internet that's the one doing it. So
Like, that's
Eat my
quite
nuts.
the way to treat your guest who's literally saving your podcast from everybody falling asleep.
Bro, again, my views say otherwise compared to yours. So,
Everyone just clicks your channel because they want to watch you fail. They think you're pathetic.
hey, bro, I'm still making money. How about you?
Go fuck yourself.
No argument. But just like this guy, where he's like, essentially,
Nice transition.
bro is literally like, there's one part we want to say where I think one problem I have with his argument here, where he's saying that a film can be both fascist and anti-fascist if the filmmaker is both nationalistic and recognizes that the nation did fucked up shit. If you're a nationalist, then, well, one, you didn't have to prove that the film overtly says that like it's presenting Japan in a good light at the expense of other nation. It says it doesn't need to denigrate another nation for it to be nationalist. It does so by making the Imperial Japanese Navy the heroes. In a situation devoid of the context of World War II, the Imperial Japanese doing something good does not then justify their previous actions. It just means they were good in this scenario because by definition of the word nationalism, the identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of other nations. So yeah, like you explicitly would have to be showing the Japanese being better or its actions benefiting itself over that of other nations. Also, if you need a scene where another nation is seen as bad, remember when the American army didn't allow Japan to keep their ships, which hurt them? No, that's also wrong, because the reason why no, that's wrong in two different ways. America took Japan ships because the war had ended. They didn't know about Godzilla at that point because Baker hadn't happened yet, so Godzilla hadn't mutated yet. And then the American military literally lent them more ships, which is what caused Operation Sea God to happen in the first place. So that's just wrong, which I'll have to respond to that there. And I'll just do a response essentially as to what I said. But that's wrong. The America did lend Japan back its ships.
Mm-hmm.
That's just ignoring what happened in the film.
There's a whole scene like dedicated to that too.
I go back to my tangent after you finish. I'm roasting this guy, correct?
He says, if you want to. And it says, yes, in the face of those volunteers is a young man who idolizes the Imperial Army and is literally explicitly told again and again that like going to war and not having seen war is a good thing. And the only action that he does in terms of saving the crew members is by having civilians who are not directly stated to be like old Navy people, just people in tugboats and fishing boats, just regular civilians helping out other civilians who do not, outside of being veterans, do not identify as like imperial like remnants or anything of that nature. Joey, you're good to go. Sorry for the blank air there.
But before I ended up cutting out, did you guys hear what I was saying too, about Hyakuda's beliefs and how they don't mean he's technically anti-war, despite the fact he is a terrible person?
Yeah, we got that. Yeah.
Okay, now I could go to my next point. As I was saying, Eternal Zero is portraying the soldiers fighting for loved ones opposed to the Emperor. A glorification of that would be encouraging the cast to do their jobs as the kamikaze pilots, simply for the sake of the Emperor, with less of a focus on the tragedy of it and the people they're leaving behind. Hell, it even critiques Bushido blatantly in areas, like the fact some people see Kyuzo as a coward at first because they think he didn't do his job as a kamikaze, only for them to find out his intentions were noble and he chose to live for those he cared about. That's why it showcases families grieving over their loved ones in war, despite them not believing it. And nobody who died was exactly thrilled about doing their job for the godly Emperor. The Emperor's not even brought up once, to my understanding. That's why one of the characters say, "I'll be coming back, either alive, dead, without an arm," and so on. All while being in a sad tone on the verge of tears, because he was only doing what he had to do, not what he wanted for his family. But anyway, similar to how Naoki Hyakuda's words can be used to interpret his stories, the same goes for Takashi Yamazaki's version of Eternal Zero. He's made it abundantly clear he doesn't support Japan's actions. The Lupin movie portrayed the Nazis as evil and okay, I already said it. Evil as evil and incompetent, like they're literally the bad guys. Can't get any more condemning than that. And Godzilla Minus One clearly critiques Japan. Yes, it doesn't go into stuff like the war crimes they did, but you already established that would have little connection to what was going on to Shikishima himself, Zim. But as a whole, Minus One is an expansion of the core themes of Gojira. It's a loose remake that portrays the anti-war and anti-nuke themes while bringing it in a clear condemning on Bushido. This is why I say if you left Minus One still thinking he's a nationalist, you're just an inferior human being who can't grasp even what's most clear. And I'm not insulting. Again, I just pity you because you don't know. You can't even grasp the most obvious. Throughout Minus One,
I would describe Minus One as a remake of Gojira with the themes of GMK. That's
exactly
pretty much what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It condemns.
Another thing, real quick, is that what's it called? F-29 says, but the Japanese government does put a gag order on the people. Like, it's very clear that they're even though the government is technically different post World War II, it still makes it very clear that a government entity is going to act within its best interest. And even though I do not agree with the actions the government takes in Minus One, the idea of putting a gag order to not cause further panic on something like Godzilla makes sense. Like, the government is shown to fail, but its intentions make a lot of sense. And I think that you have characters in the film who realistically make a lot of comments on the government, which I feel makes sense given their history. The captain saying that Japan probably could never change. And what would you say, Minecraft?
He detests government orders with a passion.
Mm-hmm. But he's still very much someone who cares about his country because he cares about the people in it. But also the idea that keeping secrets is Japan's specialty. Secrets like Unit 731, or the fact that they were losing the war, or the idea that it was good for Japan to engage in the war in the first place, even though they don't explicitly say that. Saying that criticizing the government is more closer to explicitly critiquing the actions of Japan as a political entity than being oh, look at a specific soldier, a fictitious character who more than likely we never wrote to have committed war crimes in the first place, is bad because he's part of the army and the army committed war crimes. Checkmate, media illiterate people.
Yeah, it's those people are just so dumb. Again, the movie blatantly critiques Bushido throughout Minus One. That's the entire premise. It's what led Shikishima thinking he should die for his country. It's what led to everyone shaming him. He's legit miserable because of this outdated system to fight and die simply in the name of honor. That's why through the course of the film, Shikishima not only gradually comes to appreciate life again, those who once condemned him now see him as family and was afraid he was actually gonna kamikaze himself at the end. But he didn't.
It's really clear because of how Sumiko changes over the course of the film. Not to mention the fact that people say that Shikishima's actions glorify kamikaze. It doesn't, because if it really glorified kamikaze, then Yamazaki would have just bite the bullet and have him actually kamikaze himself. The character did in Eternal Zero. But considering the fact that he's not adapting a novel, he has room to change that. And considering the fact that the entire point of the film is to have an importance on life, and he's not constrained by another person's work, he can make that decision to have the character not sacrifice themselves for this conflict. And another thing to make note of is the fact that realistically, even if his plan all along was to not kamikaze, was always to eject, I doubt Doc and Cap would have allowed him to actually go out there in the first place, because that risk would have been too great regardless. Because even when he asked for a fighter, they were like, oh, he's probably going to get shot down. And we're being oh, you shouldn't do that in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, you bring up all of these holes in their argument, you're just going to go
about fascism, guys. The ghost of Hitler particles, don't you know?
That's all they're gonna get because they're inferior. They're below subhuman.
I myself may not be as media literate as everyone else on this stream, but even I can recognize this is not fascist in any way, shape, or form. Partially because I am studying and have practically studied GMK as a movie, and -1, I've stated multiple times, shares a lot of similarities with GMK. And
Yeah, like GMK was an inspiration.
And is one of
Yeah.
Yamazaki's favorite films. Don't you know, guys?
Exactly. More people need to watch GMK. More people really need to watch GMK.
And the original Godzilla, which -1 is remaking. It's loosely
That
remaking
too.
it, but still.
That too. At least those two movies, if you want to understand what the hell -1 was going for.
Yeah, this is also why I think -1 was kind of Yamazaki's second shot at doing what he was going for with Eternal Zero. He saw the controversy that brought due to the message. It was let me rewrite that. He saw the controversy Eternal Zero brought due to its message and wanted to say that again while hammering in the fact he doesn't support Imperial Japan while making it more than explicit, and I mean it's in your face, not subtle at all, that yeah, this is bad. These people are treating him wrong. He's miserable because of it. This is not a glorification. Now, I will say, is Yamazaki a patriot? I think so, but there's the difference between being a patriot and a nationalist. The patriotism here and Eternal Zero is going back on the old Bushido ways, which for those who don't know, again, Bushido is what drove Imperial Japan to do the foul shit they did. It's about loving the country while acknowledging the flaws of the country, which is what -1 did. Shin Godzilla did the same thing. The core themes was critiquing the government's bad handling of the situation, but at the end, they finally got two competent individuals to come together and lead for a hopeful future. That's patriotism. It points out the flaws in the government, critiques them harshly, while showing we can do better and make this best for the people in the future. Why? Because we love this country. Now again, Yamazaki is a patriot, while Hyakuda is a filthy nationalist who thinks his country can do no wrong. But despite patriotism existing in Eternal Zero, nothing there is radical. For example, Prey has themes of feminism. It's well-written feminism. It takes place in an era where women undoubtedly weren't treated equal, and it manages to be an underdog story of Naru not just being strong for the sake of woman power, but doing what Dutch did in the original Predator, by watching his every move and finding a strategy. None of it was necessarily saying, oh, men are pigs, with her brother being an important piece of her growth. Now, maybe the artist of Prey is a disgusting third-wave feminist. I don't know that. However, none of his radical beliefs are featured in Prey for what I can tell. Thus, it'd be a stretch to call it woke. Now, reason I bring this up, because Eternal Zero isn't the last Hyakuda film Yamazaki adapted. A few years later, he adapted Fueled the Man They Called Pirate, which is a story about a man rebuilding Japan after they lost the war. At this point, everybody already knew how crazy the author of those novels was. But that doesn't matter, because a good story is a good story, and what its themes are is patriotic and making Japan better than it was. And going off the premise, unlike Eternal Zero, this one can't really be argued Hyakuda was victimizing Japan, since we aren't following any heroic soldiers fighting for their families. It's more so an upbeat tale of Japan making it the country it is now, because, it follows an oil guy that was planning to rebuild Japan after the tragedy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It wasn't about soldiers. Now, I know some people bring that up to be like, oh, but even after knowing, Yamazaki still adapted another Hyakuda book. But it's like that Hyakuda book, while still patriotic, there's nothing about it that necessarily can be argued was victimizing Japan.
Mm-hmm.
As well as not to mention his Always films too.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't think follow soldiers at all.
Like, you need to remember, there's a difference between patriarchy and nationalism. Patriotism is perfectly fine. Nationalism is a radical version of patriotism. It's bad. Yamazaki's a patriot. Hyakuda is a nationalist, but his work is, from what I gathered, is very well written and doesn't feature any of his radical beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a part of me does want to draw the comparison with H.P. Lovecraft, because though I realize now they are very, very different ends of the spectrum, and Lovecraft actually did shove a lot of that into his story.
Well, it's one of those cases with Lovecraft where, if you look at Lovecraft, he's definitely a man of his time. And some people say, like, oh, he wasn't just a man of his time, he was exceptionally bad for his time. But seeing, like, reading his letters, going down to Providence, and seeing a lot of things that he said and did and the situations that he, like, lived through in terms of his family life, how he was treated, things of that nature, I don't agree with what he said at all, given the fact that, like, he probably wouldn't have the highest opinion of someone like me, given my background and makeup, but I still love his stories, and it's very easy to like push away the art from the artist. But in
there is a
Yamazaki's
good
case, finding
reason.
something where to like be like, oh, we don't need to separate Yamazaki's art from him. It's very clear what he's trying to say, and people saying otherwise are trying really hard to say otherwise about him.
Yeah, because like I said, I love the Eternal Zero. I haven't read the novel, and I'm sure the novel is great, but many people, I think, like, I should say that it's mainly Twitter tards doing it at this point, because that controversy in Japan only lasted when Hyakuda said that statement. Nobody in Japan really remembers it, and here in America, it's only Twitter dumbasses bringing it up, because, like, for example, Christopher Nolan, when he had his discussion with Yamazaki on -1, he brought up the
Eternal Zero, yeah.
Yeah, he said, it reminds me of your previous work, Eternal Zero, which, like I said, it's like that was like a prototype for what -1 would be. Now, in a quality perspective, every one of you need to watch Eternal Zero. That film's a masterpiece. It's on par. While -1's my preferred thing due to my bias, objectively, they're on par. They're both fantastic movies.
Yeah. I've been hoping to check out some of Yamazaki's other work. I want to check out the Always Sunny series.
I'd love to see that.
So, yeah.
Did you say he directed a Lupin movie?
Yeah, he did.
Lupin the Third. I forget which one it was.
Let me look it up. It's one where Nazis are the villains. I'm not. Maybe that's a common thing with Lupin. I'm not the most knowledgeable on it.
I'm not very knowledgeable.
Also,
about
since you
Lupin
mentioned, you mentioned that Lupin had Nazis as villains, I'm wondering now what Yamazaki would do with Kamen Rider, because
shocker.
Yeah.
I think he could. Lupin the Third, the Castle of Kagastro, something like that. The 19.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah, Takashi Yamazaki. Because I looked it up and it's like, wait, was this directed? Is Google just being a fucking dipshit? Okay, it's Lupin the First. Google was being retarded because like that film's 1979.
Please,
Yamazaki's not that old.
Not use that word. Can we
Okay,
please not use that word?
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a knee-jerk reaction every time I hear that word.
Well, I'm autistic, so sorry to say that.
Yeah, I know. I know. It just I just.
Oh,
have
the 3D one, right?
Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, before I finished.
Oh yeah, I watched that and I liked it. So yeah.
No, Vic, go on.
Oh no! I was just gonna say I liked that movie, and I didn't know he did it, but thinking back, I'm like, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, he directed that one.
Yeah. So, can
What have we learned today, kids?
Stop calling things fascism when they're not fascism. You clearly have no idea what fascism is.
Exactly, especially when it's blatantly the opposite. But these people, like, here's the thing. A lot of these, I'll say this. Culture war people need to stay out of media literacy because they suck at it. They look at it through one lens. How do I politicize this? How do I make this favor me? How do I make this not favor me? That's their one way of doing it, and it fucking sucks ass. So when it comes to stuff like this, they can't even see what's most obvious. So even in that lens, they still suck at their job because they would able to turn on -1 and be like, oh, this is a condemnation of Imperial Japan. But no, they can't even do that! Like, it's obvious!
Yeah, there's a difference. There is a difference between discussing political beliefs in order to give an idea for where one stands when discussing the thematics of a story, like what the nerd in the suit does with his video on Godzilla 98, where he, before going into the message of Godzilla 98 and critiquing the message of Godzilla 98, he lays out his political viewpoints to get an idea where he's coming from. And then you have there's a difference between that and the goddamn critical drinker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think we're done with -1 discussion for now.
Yeah,
Are
I
we-
got all my notes off. Basically,
Essentially, yeah.
as Toku Punk said in the chat, Eternal Zero is -1 without the Godzilla.
Nice. Yeah. So, anyways, can I talk about what I was gonna bring up in the if we were to do a preamble beforehand?
Yeah.
So are all of you aware of the upcoming How to Train Your Dragon remake?
I am.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I'm probably not gonna see it though.
Yeah, so I rewatched the original How to Train Your Dragon, and then the trailer released. I am to anyone who's excited, not taking that away from you. To anyone who is interested, fine by me. I am considering this movie a personal insult in every way, shape, and or form.
Mm-hmm.
Partially because of just how important the first movie itself is to me, and the fact that it is that part of that fact is because it's an animated movie. Nay, the movie that got me into animation. Also, live action remakes are just inherently not interesting whatsoever. Ask Avatar: The Last Airbender.
They're just silly.
Exactly. Remaking something is perfectly fine. Just stop doing it one for one.
I agree with that. Like, it's kind of useless when it's just like 1 for 1. That's what Psycho did. I also hate when video games do that.
No, I just think that generally, people should just like take animation more seriously. Like, I think there should be more adult animated series, and I don't mean adult in the sense of potty jokes and everything is schmecks. I'm thinking that like things like Primal and so the fact that Samurai Jack ended up on Adult Swim or things like that. And now I'm just thinking of like mostly Gendy Tartakovsky type of stuff because I'm also thinking
even more things like Smiling Friends.
Smiling Friends is like I'm probably not including Smiling Friends because it's also like comedy too. Like I think that like it weirdly for some reason almost anything that's like adult like animation in America seems to just always be like comedy, where I think that like either with stuff like Mask of the Phantasm for like Batman, things of that nature.
Did anyone watch Twilight of the Gods?
I know
Put it on my
King
radar.
Candor does not like it too much. I haven't seen it yet, and I am probably going to watch it sooner or later, but I have not heard good things about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have had it on my radar.
I liked it.
Okay. Yeah, I've had it on my radar for a little bit, mainly just because Norse mythology. Hell yeah. Mythology.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Speaking of adult animation, what's on your screen? Things to come, let's just say that.
Woo!
Not promising anything, but just learning and fiddling with Blender is definitely trying to lead into something. And I guess if I'm gonna leak anything else in terms of plans I do have, if you're familiar with Dead Sound, then you'll know exactly kind of where I want to take things.
Nice.
Are you willing to leak
Okay,
your
but-
mother's nudes, though? That would be one thing I'd be interested in.
Unfortunately, Joey, it would involve you getting pegged tremendously for like days on end. So I don't want to subject you to that kind of humiliation.
You'd be
for
watching
hundreds of
that
people to
shit in
see.
the corner, jerking off. That's what you would be doing.
Bro,
She would be
I'm sorry.
saying-
Like,
be like,
you're
"Em,
the fact
this
that you think about me doing that says more about you than it does about me. So,
That's what she would be like. Boy, this is how
Bro.
a man does it.
bro, the fact is again, you're the one who brought it up first, and you're thinking about me like that. I don't swing like that. I am sorry. We've gone through this a dozen times. It's never gonna happen. I love you. No homo. Pause. But as a brother, I'm not sure why you're thinking about things like that. It's like, even though we aren't related, it's like borderline incestuous. And I mean, like, maybe because of where you live, that's your thing, but
I don't live in Alabama.
hey, you're south to me anyway, so you're all southerners to me. So
I live in
Oh.
Ohio, bitch.
my guy, that is still south of me. But outside of that, is there anything else that we can think of or add to before we end off the stream? Because that actually hit a perfect 200, so it's not too long, not too short.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got nothing. I think we got pretty much all we need to say here.
There we go.
Minus
I
one of the
think-
people talking about it.
I'm glad I was able to
Yeah,
fit
I
my.
think it's just very important for people to, think. I guess think critically and, do your research, know what you're talking about before you make wild claims that you fuck around, you find out.
Yeah, exactly.
And stuff.
That's why I say, when it comes to this sort of thing, I was glad I was kind of able to fit my entire tangent in. When I wrote everything I did on my notes involving Godzilla Minus One, Eternal Zero, Takashi Yamazaki as a whole, I was like, man, am I going to be able to fit all this in Zimcast? Because it's a very complex situation and something that I think needed to be deep delved in. Now, I know I'm not going to be convincing any of the people who think that because, again, their brains don't work. That's not an insult. They were born inferior beings. But for those who have a brain and just kind of heard the stupid shit that they shat out, here you go. Here's the information. Glad I could help.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
There,
Yeah, generally, in terms of everything,
there are.
thank you all for
If you
coming
want to
on.
research, if you want to research the Godzilla media, if you want to research the Godzilla franchise of the kaiju genre, there are a lot of videos on YouTube. Go watch Big Action Bill's stuff, or if you don't have the time, go watch Bones' Kaijuology documentary.
There's also just like a lot of people who will just willingly talk your ear off about Godzilla, so
That too.
it's not hard.
That too.
But yeah, putting my Patreon in across Twitch, Facebook, and obviously in the YouTube chat if you guys are feeling funky fresh and want to support me in that way, because that helps me work more on videos and streams and stuff like that. Definitely helps in terms of letting me focus more on things of that nature. At the moment, I've got 2 videos that are in the pipeline that I'm finishing writing up. Whichever one comes first is whichever one's going to be uploaded. I wanted to do them in November, but I didn't have the time, and I'm just going to keep writing them up throughout next week, and I'm just going to have those 2 be December post, and then after that, I will plan out the next set of videos I want to do, and then probably around March, or maybe even February, is when I will probably stop doing as many videos, because I'm going to focus on getting Godzilla 98 A Complete Retrospective's first episode out, because I've been still writing that, and the source list for that has gotten even bigger. I think I'm at like 250 sources, so I need to reorganize that again. So what I've decided to do, at least in that case, is that the complete retrospectives episodes are going to be probably yearly things, actually, where every year on the anniversary of 98 you'll get a new episode for the complete retrospective until that finally ends and then becomes one big video. But if I make if I'm able to do more episodes, I might break that trend. But yeah,
Plus free feet pics.
bro, you are obsessed with just seeing me naked.
Are you sure your pants are still on?
I hope they are. But Vic, where can we find you, good sir?
I don't know. Hell.
You can find me on YouTube as Kaijunaut. I do kaiju related content. I just did a stream earlier today about my experience working for the 70th anniversary Godzilla pop-up shop. I have lots of other content there and more to look forward to. I do have commissions open, a special holiday sale going on through my Ko-fi and my VGen. You could find me there as Vic Monstrous or Vic Monstrosities.
Awesome. Gojin, what is going on with you?
When it comes to me, you can find me on my channel, as the name here presents, Gojin the Makai Phantom. I do videos of all across the spectrum of nerd shit. I talk about, like, for example, my last video was a review of Takashi Shimizu's The Hidden Village, and now I'm currently working on a review of the latest Uzumaki TV show, and I have some podcasts amongst other types of content that'll be on there. I also have a retrospective involving Godzilla, Kong, and all that outside of the first episode that's been out, it's kind of been delayed, mainly because, well, due to the ambitious plans we've had with that retrospective. I couldn't get it out on time, so now it's being pushed aside till eventually something big gets announced again. You could also check out Sakura Central. Me and Zim as well. We both do. Kind of co-run that site with Nick Huber, Daniel Meany, Kaiju Noir, and stuff like that. It's a place dedicated to Asian media in general, so go and check that out too, especially the Instagram and such. So yeah, subscribe to me on YouTube, join my Discord, follow me on the socials, and check out Sakura Central.
Awesome. And Minecraft?
You can find me on YouTube at Minecraft World 1954. That's my @ or just Minecraft World. And there I post kaiju and versus related content. Well, mostly kaiju content, but I have some versus stuff in the mind. And animations in the mind in the future. The biggest among my upcoming projects being a video essay about Project Nemesis with several other video topics, including why versatility matters, Godzilla and Transformers, a video essay on Howl from Beyond the Fog, a thematic analysis of Titanic Creation Soul War, and some other non-kaiju video essays that I want to do. One including the Owl House and another one including maybe a character analysis of the Lady Bone Demon from Lego Monkey Kid. And then you can also find me on Instagram and Kara, where I post artworks and concepts for a Greek mythology-inspired kaiju story that I have been working on, and for a Godzilla AU that I've been working on that I hope to share at some point. So yeah. As well as that, you can find me on Blue Sky, where I post things and do stuff. Yeah. Go read Project Nemesis. Go watch the Gamma movies. Go watch Ultraman Rising. Go watch Transformers 1, please. Go watch The Owl House. Go watch How to Train Your Dragon. Go watch Godzilla -1. Tiamat deserved better. Take care. Peace.
Alrighty.
I will second on Project Nemesis. Like, I'm very close friends with.
You read the book?
Well, I'm close friends with the author, Zach Cole. He's actually a moderator of my Discord, and he also been on my podcast quite a bit of times. Good guy.
I think you're thinking of a different book because Zach didn't write Nemesis. That was Jeremy Robinson.
Okay, well, Zach Cole is involved with it.
Oh, he
Also
was?
to the chat getting pissed at me for liking the Owl House. Cope and seethe, bitch. The show is awesome.
I've never seen it, but yeah. What's it called? Let me end us off here with the perfect way to end off the stream.
Yeah.
No. Shut your mouth. But peace, guys.
Semper Fi, motherfucker.